The crystal chandeliers of Moonshadow Palace blazed with enough candlelight to rival the full moon hanging heavy in the autumn sky. Music swelled through the grand ballroom, violins and cellos weaving melodies that made Kaya's chest ache with longing she couldn't quite name. She stood pressed against the marble pillar at the ballroom's edge, trying to make herself smaller, invisible. The jade silk gown her mother had insisted she wear, the one that had taken 3 months of saved wages to afford, suddenly felt like a cruel joke. Beautiful fabric couldn't disguise what she was. An omega, packless, rejected. Look at her. A voice drifted from a cluster of she-wolves near the refreshment table, standing there like she actually belongs. Kaya's fingers tightened on the champagne flute she'd been holding for the past hour, untouched. She didn't turn to see who'd spoken. She didn't need to. The speaker was Valina Blackrose, daughter of the High Council's treasurer, and she'd made Kaya's life miserable since they were children. I heard she actually thought Alpha Gregor would claim her. Another voice joined in, this one belonging to Senna Thornwick. Can you imagine? An unbonded she-wolf with a broken bloodline thinking she's worthy of an alpha? The words struck like physical blows, but Kaya kept her expression carefully neutral. She'd learned long ago that showing pain only encouraged them. 3 weeks ago, Alpha Gregor of the Northern Pax had publicly rejected her before the entire Willowmere village. She could still hear his voice, cold and dismissive. I don't bond with defective omegas. Your family's magic died with your grandmother. You're useless to any pack. The humiliation had been complete when he'd turned and claimed Valina instead, right there in front of everyone. Did you see her arrive alone? Valina's voice carried clearly across the ballroom now, pitched loud enough that several nearby groups turned to listen. No escort, no pack, just standing there like a lost puppy. Laughter rippled through the crowd, and Kaya felt heat crawl up her neck. She should leave. She'd been foolish to come at all, but Mira had insisted. You have every right to attend the lunar ball, her friend had said that morning, helping Kaya lace up the jade gown. The invitation went to every wolf in Lunaris. You belong there as much as anyone. But belonging and being welcome were 2 entirely different things. The music shifted, and couples began pairing off for the Moonrise Waltz, the most important dance of the evening. Tradition held that wolves who danced the moonrise together were declaring their intention to court. Around the ballroom, alphas extended their hands to chosen omegas, betas to betas. Each pairing met with approving smiles. Kaya's stomach twisted as she watched Valina accept Alpha Gregor's hand with a triumphant smile aimed directly at her. Still hoping someone will ask you to dance, Sylvan? Draven's voice came from behind her, smooth as poisoned honey. Kaya stiffened. Draven Ashmore served as High Beta on the Royal Council, second only to the king himself in authority. He was handsome in the way of predators, all sharp angles and cold amber eyes, and he'd been watching her with uncomfortable interest since her rejection. I'm simply enjoying the music, High Beta, Kaya replied, keeping her tone respectful. Of course you are. He moved to stand beside her, too close, his scent overwhelming, pine and smoke, and something acrid beneath. It must be difficult, watching everyone else find their place while you remain unclaimed. Before Kaya could respond, a hush fell over the ballroom, the kind of silence that made her skin prickle with awareness. Conversations died mid-word. Dancers froze. Even the musicians faltered, notes trailing off into uncertainty. Kaya turned toward the grand staircase, and her breath caught. At the top of the marble steps stood a figure that seemed to draw every eye in the room like gravity itself. He was tall, taller than any wolf she'd ever seen, with shoulders that spoke of raw power barely contained. Dark hair fell to his collar, and even from across the ballroom, she could see eyes that gleamed like molten silver in the candlelight. Alpha energy rolled off him in waves so intense it made her Omega instincts scream conflicting commands. Submit. Run. Kneel. Blessed Luna, someone whispered nearby. It's him. The Alpha King actually came. I thought he never attended the lunar balls. Theron Stormborn, the Alpha King of Lunaris. Kaya had never seen him in person. He was legend more than man, the king who'd united the fractured Pax 15 years ago, who'd ended the territory wars with sheer dominance and political brilliance. The wolf who supposedly could shift faster than thought and commanded loyalty through power alone. He was supposed to be in the northern territories, negotiating with the mountain Pax. His attendance tonight was completely unexpected. The king descended the stairs with fluid grace, and the crowd parted before him like water. Council members bowed. Alphas dipped their heads in respect. Even High Beta Draven straightened, his expression tight. Theron moved through the ballroom, acknowledging greetings with minimal nods, his expression unreadable. Storm gray eyes scanned the crowd with an intensity that made Kaya want to shrink further into her pillar's shadow. The music resumed hesitantly, couples returning to the moonrise waltz with frequent glances toward their king. Surely he would choose someone to dance with, some appropriate she-wolf of high standing. Perhaps one of the council daughters, or a visiting Alpha's sister. Anyone but Dash Dash. The Alpha King stopped walking. His gaze locked onto something across the ballroom with sudden, intense focus. Kaya felt the weight of that stare like a physical thing, and her heart began to pound for reasons she couldn't explain. Then, impossibly, his eyes met hers. The world narrowed to that single point of connection. Mercury eyes burning into hers with an intensity that made her knees weak. She couldn't look away. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't think beyond the primal recognition flooding her system. Mine, something deep in her Omega soul whispered. Ours. The thought was so shocking, so completely inappropriate, that Kaya stumbled backward, breaking eye contact. Her champagne flute slipped from nerveless fingers and shattered on the marble floor. The crash seemed impossibly loud in the hushed ballroom. Clumsy Omega! Valina's voice rang out with cruel delight. Can't even hold a glass properly. Laughter erupted around Kaya. Not kind laughter, but the vicious mockery of wolves scenting weakness. Her face burned as she knelt to gather the glass shards, desperate for any excuse to hide. Don't bother, Draven said above her, his voice carrying clearly. The servants will clean it. Perhaps you should retire for the evening, Miss Sylvain, before you embarrass yourself further. More laughter. Someone muttered "packless," loud enough to hear. Kaya's hands trembled as she straightened, glass fragments still littering the floor around her feet. She should leave, walk out with whatever dignity she had left, and never attend another pack gathering for as long as she lived. But as she turned toward the terrace doors, toward escape, the crowd before her suddenly parted. The Alpha King stood 3 paces away. Up close, he was devastating. Authority emanated from him in waves that made her Omega instincts scream with the need to bare her throat. His face was all hard planes and sharp edges, beautiful in the way of winter storms. But his eyes, those silver eyes, held something that looked almost like wonder. Your Majesty, Draven spoke quickly, moving to intercede. I apologize for the disturbance. This Omega was just leaving. Theron raised one hand, and Draven's words died instantly. The High Beta's face flushed, but he stepped back. The king's gaze never left Kaya's face. Then, with the entire ballroom watching in stunned silence, Theron Stormborn extended his hand toward her. The gesture was unmistakable, an invitation to dance. No, Valina whispered somewhere behind Kaya. He wouldn't. He can't. But he was. The Alpha King of Lunaris was offering his hand to a rejected, unbonded Omega, while the most powerful wolves in the kingdom watched. Kaya stared at his outstretched palm, her mind refusing to process what was happening. This had to be a mistake, a cruel joke, some kind of test she didn't understand. "Your Majesty," she whispered, her voice barely audible. I don't dance with me." His voice was deep, rolling through her like thunder. Not a question, not quite a command. Something in between that made her soul ache. Around them, shocked whispers built like rising wind. The Alpha King. Choosing an Omega. No pack. No family. Rejected by Gregor. The humiliation of 3 weeks ago crashed over Kaya again. The memory of standing in Willowmere's town square while Alpha Gregor announced her bloodline was broken, her magic extinct, her worth as an Omega non-existent. If she took the Alpha King's hand now, if she accepted this dance, she would be declaring herself worthy of his attention. She would be standing before everyone who'd witnessed her rejection and claiming she deserved this moment. The lie would be obvious to everyone. They would mock her for days, weeks, maybe years. But Kaya looked up into Theron Stormborn's eyes and saw something there that made her breathing hitch. Not pity, not mockery. Something ardent and certain and utterly unshakable. He'd come to her. Crossed a crowded ballroom to stand before an unbonded Omega while his kingdom watched. Whatever his reason, political maneuver, momentary whim, incomprehensible royal game, he'd made the gesture. And Kaya Sylvain, who'd spent 3 weeks trying to piece together her shattered dignity, made a choice. She placed her trembling hand in his. The moment their skin touched, lightning arced between them. Kaya gasped at the sensation, not painful, but shocking in its intensity. Electric. Right. Like completing a circuit she hadn't known was broken. Theron's fingers closed around hers with exquisite gentleness, and recognition flickered across his face too quickly to name. Surprise? Certainty? Whatever it was vanished behind his controlled expression as he led her toward the dance floor. The crowd parted silently, every eye tracking their movement. Kaya felt the weight of hundreds of stares, heard the whispered speculation building like storm clouds. But the king's hand remained steady around hers, anchoring her. They reached the center of the ballroom just as the opening strains of the Moonrise Waltz swelled anew. Theron turned to face her, and Kaya realized with mounting panic that she barely remembered the steps. She'd learned them as a girl, but never danced them with anyone who mattered. "I should warn you," she whispered as his hand settled at her waist. "I'm not very good at this." The corner of his mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, but close. "Then we'll learn together." And as the music swept them into motion, Kaya wondered what divine madness had possessed the Alpha King of Lunaris to choose her. She wouldn't have long to wonder. Theron Stormborn moved with the kind of grace that came from perfect control over power. Each step of the Moonrise Waltz was precise, guiding Kaya through turns she'd forgotten with subtle pressure at her waist, gentle direction through their joined hands. "You're shaking," he observed quietly, his deep voice pitched for her ears alone. "Everyone's watching," Kaya managed, hyper-aware of the hundreds of eyes tracking their every movement. "Your Majesty, I don't understand why you—" "Theron." The correction was soft, but firm. "When we dance, you call me Theron." The intimacy of using his given name made her stumble slightly. His grip at her waist tightened, steadying her, and another jolt of that strange electricity passed between them. "I can't," Kaya breathed. "It wouldn't be appropriate. I'm just Kaya Sylvain." He said her name like he'd known it forever. Daughter of Elise and Marcus Sylvain of Willowmere. Granddaughter of Sarah the Healer. You work as an herbalist in your village, growing medicinal plants that you provide to the pack healers at cost. She stared up at him, shock momentarily overriding her nervousness. "How do you know that?" A hint of something warm flickered in his mercury gaze. I make it my business to know about wolves in my kingdom, especially those with interesting bloodlines. The mention of her bloodline sent ice through Kaya's veins. Then you know it's broken. Whatever my grandmother could do, whatever magic she had, it died with her. I'm just an herbalist, nothing more. Is that what Gregor told you? Theron's voice held an edge now, dangerous and sharp. That you're nothing? Kaya's throat constricted at the memory. He wasn't wrong. My family's healing gift is gone, and Omega without useful abilities is... Alpha Gregor is a fool. The words were spoken with such absolute conviction that several nearby couples turned to stare. Theron's expression remained calm, but Kaya felt the tension in his frame. He wouldn't recognize true power if it burned him. Without warning, the music shifted into a more complex pattern. Theron spun her out and back, the movement so smooth she followed on pure instinct. When she returned to his arms, they were closer than before, closer than was strictly proper for the moonrise waltz. You're Maj. Theron? She corrected at his sharp look. People are talking. Let them talk. His eyes held hers with unnerving intensity. Tell me, Kaya. Do you feel it? Feel what? This. His thumb traced a small circle at her waist, and electricity sparked through the jade silk. The connection between us. Kaya's heart hammered against her ribs. She did feel it, had felt it from the moment their hands touched. Like invisible threads binding them together, growing stronger with each passing second. It was impossible, unnatural, terrifying. I don't know what you mean, she lied. Theron's expression suggested he knew exactly how dishonest that answer was, but he didn't press. Instead, he guided her through another turn, and Kaya caught sight of the ballroom's edge. Draven stood there, his amber eyes fixed on them with an intensity that made her skin crawl. Beside him, Valina whispered furiously to a cluster of high-born she-wolves, all of them staring at Kaya with undisguised hostility. They hate me, Kaya said quietly. Your dancing with me will only make it worse. They fear you. Theron's correction was certain. There's a difference. Fear me? Kaya almost laughed at the absurdity. I'm a rejected Omega with no pack and no power. What could they possibly fear? Change. His hand tightened at her waist. The order they've built that keeps wolves like you beneath wolves like them. They see me choosing you, and they wonder what it means. What does it mean? The question escaped before Kaya could stop it. Theron was silent for 3 full turns of the waltz. When he finally spoke, his voice held a weight that made air catch in her throat. It means I've been searching for something. And tonight, I found her. The music swelled toward its crescendo. Around them, other couples prepared for the traditional ending, a final spin and a bow that would signal the completion of courtship interest. Theron, Kaya whispered urgently, if you complete this dance with me, everyone will think you intend to court me. The scandal. Let them think it. He spun her out one final time, but I'm nobody. You're mine. The possessive certainty in those 2 words stole Kaya's breath. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, the music reached its final note. Theron pulled her back into his arms for the closing pose, and his expression changed. His eyes flickered, once, twice, then rolled back as his knees buckled. Theron! Kaya's scream cut through the ballroom as the Alpha King collapsed in her arms. His weight drove them both toward the marble floor. Kaya tried to support him, but he was too large, too heavy. They went down in a tangle of jade silk and formal black clothing, and chaos erupted around them. The king! Someone help him! What happened? Get the healers! Kaya barely heard the panicked voices. All her attention focused on the man cradled against her, his powerful body suddenly slack, his breathing shallow and wrong. She pressed her hand to his chest and felt his heartbeat, too fast, too irregular, like a drum with broken rhythm. "Move aside." Draven's voice cut through the chaos. The high beta shoved through the crowd, his expression a mask of concern that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Get away from him, Omega." "Something's wrong," Kaya protested, not moving. His heart. "I said move." Draven grabbed her arm, trying to pull her away. The moment his fingers touched her skin, wrongness slammed through Kaya's senses. Not from Theron. From Draven. Something dark and oily that made her Omega instincts scream danger. She looked down at Theron's pale face, then up at Draven's amber eyes, and understanding crashed over her with horrible clarity. "You poisoned him," she breathed. Draven's expression didn't change, but acknowledgement flickered in his eyes. Warning, threat. "Careful, little Omega. Accusations against the high beta carry severe consequences." "He's dying." Kaya's voice rose. "We need to help him." "The royal healers are coming." Draven's grip on her arm tightened painfully. "You've done enough damage for one evening." Around them, wolves pressed closer. Some concerned, some curious, all of them watching the drama unfold. Kaya felt their stares like physical weight, heard their whispered speculation. Did she do something to him? The unbonded Omega. Maybe she's cursed. Why would the king choose her? Royal healers arrived, elderly wolves with medicine bags and worried expressions. They knelt beside Theron, checking his pulse, his breathing, muttering to each other in medical terminology Kaya barely understood. "His Majesty needs to be moved to the medical chambers immediately," the lead healer announced. "And the Omega?" Draven asked, his voice carrying clearly. "Should she be detained for questioning?" "I didn't do anything," Kaya protested. "You were the last one touching him." Velena's voice rang out from the crowd. "Right before he collapsed, everyone saw." Agreement rippled through the assembled wolves. Kaya felt the mob mentality building, their need for someone to blame, their willingness to believe the worst of her. "Please," she said, looking at the healers. "I can help him. My grandmother taught me." "Your grandmother's magic died with her," Draven interrupted smoothly. "Everyone knows that. You're just an herbalist, remember? Nothing more." The dismissal stung because it echoed her own words from minutes ago. Kaya watched helplessly as guards lifted Theron's unconscious form, preparing to carry him away. His hand fell from his chest, hanging limp. And there, on his palm where it had rested against his formal jacket, Kaya saw a faint shimmer, like oil on water, like poison. "Wait!" She lunged forward, but Draven's grip held her back. His hand. There's something on his hand. "Enough." Draven's voice hardened. "Guards. Escort Miss Sylvain to a private room. For her own protection, you understand." "You can't." "I can, and I will." Draven leaned close, his breath hot against her ear. "You're not in Willowmere anymore, little Omega. Here, I speak with the king's authority. And right now, the king can't speak at all." Guards moved to flank Kaya, their expressions apologetic but firm. She thought about fighting, about screaming that Draven was the one who'd poisoned the king, that she could prove it if they just let her examine Theron's hand. But who would believe her? An unbonded, rejected Omega accusing the high beta, second most powerful wolf in the kingdom, of attempted assassination. They'd call her mad, desperate, a sad creature trying to gain attention through wild accusations. So Kaya went quietly as they led her from the ballroom, watching over her shoulder as royal healers carried Theron Stormborn toward the healing wing. "I've been searching for something," he'd said, "and tonight, I found her. You're mine." The memory of his voice echoed through her mind as guards escorted her through marble corridors to a private room that was clearly a gilded cage. They left her there with apologies and locked the door behind them. Kaya pressed her hands against the cool glass window, staring out at Moonshadow Palace's moonlit gardens. Somewhere in this vast complex, the Alpha King lay dying from poison that only she had recognized. And she was trapped here, useless and alone, while Draven, the wolf who'd administered that poison, walked free with the king's authority in his hands. Her fingers curled into fists against the glass. Number. She wouldn't accept this, couldn't accept this. Theron had crossed a ballroom full of powerful wolves to choose her, had held her like she mattered, had looked at her with eyes that saw something beyond a rejected, unbonded Omega. "You're mine," he'd said. Well, if she was his, then he was hers too. And she would save him, even if it meant revealing the secret she'd kept hidden for 3 years. The secret that would prove Alpha Gregor had been wrong about her broken bloodline. The secret that might get her killed. Kaya closed her eyes and reached deep inside herself, to the place she'd locked away since her grandmother's death. The place where power slept, waiting for her to be brave enough to use it. Her hands began to glow with soft amber light. The lock on Kaya's door presented less challenge than she'd expected. Not because she possessed any skill with lockpicking, but because her grandmother's gift, the gift everyone believed had died with Sarah Sylvan, extended beyond simple healing. Life calls to life, Sarah had whispered during their secret lessons. Metal was once ore in living earth. Wood was once a growing tree. Everything remembers what it was. You just have to remind it. Kaya pressed her glowing palm against the lock and whispered to the memory of living ore, of earth and fire and transformation. The metal warmed under her touch, then shifted, mechanisms sliding aside with barely a click. The door opened. Kaya slipped into the corridor, her heart hammering. She'd never used her magic so openly before, had spent 3 years hiding it after her grandmother's warning. "They burned my mother for less than what you can do, child. Hide it. Always hide it." But Theron was dying, and hiding wouldn't save him. The medical chambers were easy to find. Kaya simply followed the scent of medicinal herbs and the sound of worried voices. She kept to the shadows, avoiding guards through a combination of luck and the simple fact that no one expected a locked-up Omega to escape. Through an open doorway, she heard the royal healers arguing. "Never seen anything like this. His Majesty's vitals continue to decline. If we don't stabilize him within the hour." Kaya didn't wait to hear more. She slipped past the doorway into the main chamber. The medical wing was vast, lined with beds separated by privacy curtains, healing crystals mounted on every wall pulsing with diagnostic magic. Theron lay on a raised bed in the center, surrounded by more crystals. His face had gone gray, and even from across the room, Kaya could see his chest rising and falling with labored breaths. 3 elderly healers hovered over him, their expressions growing more desperate by the moment. "Nothing's working," one muttered. "It's like the poison is adapting to everything we try." "Has anyone informed High Beta Draven that His Majesty's condition has worsened?" another asked. "He's been informed. He said to keep him updated." "I bet he did," Kaya thought bitterly. "Easier to finish the job if he knows when the healers are failing." She waited until all 3 healers bent over their medicine bags, then darted forward. Her hands found Theron's where it lay against the white sheets, and she felt it immediately, the wrongness spreading through his veins like ice. This wasn't natural poison. It was infused with dark magic, designed to resist healing, to consume life force faster than any treatment could replenish it. Draven hadn't just poisoned the Alpha King, he'd cursed him. "You!" One of the healers spotted her. "How did you... Guards!" "Please," Kaya said desperately, not releasing Theron's hand. "I can help him." I know what this is. You're the Omega who was with him when he collapsed. The lead healer's expression hardened. Step away from His Majesty immediately. It's a death curse, Kaya said quickly before guards could arrive. Not just poison, dark magic woven through it. That's why your treatments aren't working. You're trying to heal poison, but you need to break the curse first. The three healers exchanged glances. Curse magic has been outlawed for 2 centuries, one said slowly. No one in Lunaris would dare. Someone did dare. Kaya met their eyes. And if you don't let me try to break it, your king will die. And how? The lead healer asked with clear skepticism. Would an unbonded Omega know anything about curse breaking? Kaya could lie. Could make up some story about her grandmother teaching her theory without practice, could maintain the fiction that her bloodline's power had died. Or she could save Theron Stormborn. Because I'm Sarah Sylvain's granddaughter, she said clearly, and the magic didn't die. It just went into hiding. She raised her free hand, letting warm golden radiance spill from her palm. Not the soft glow from before, but true power. The kind that made the diagnostic crystals around Theron's bed flare and pulse in resonance. The healers stared in shock. Sarah's gift, one murmured, but everyone said everyone was wrong. Kaya turned back to Theron, placing both glowing hands on his chest. Now please, let me work. For a heartbeat she thought they might refuse, call guards, drag her away and let political considerations override their king's life. Then the lead healer nodded sharply. Do it. Kaya closed her eyes and let her power flow, not just into Theron's body, but deeper, into the curse itself. Dark magic recoiled from her touch like living shadow, but she pursued it through his veins, his heart, his lungs. You don't belong here, she told it silently. This life is not yours to take. The curse fought back. Kaya gasped as pain lanced through her own chest, an echo of what Theron was experiencing. The dark magic was sophisticated, layered with traps for anyone who tried to remove it. But Sarah had taught her well. Life calls to life, death calls to death. You stand in between, child. The door can swing both ways if you let it. Never let it. Kaya found the curse's anchor point, buried deep in Theron's heart, feeding on his alpha strength. She gathered her power and struck. The curse shattered. Theron's back arched off the bed, his mouth opening in a silent scream. Silver light exploded from his skin, mixing with Kaya's gold, and in that moment she wasn't just healing him, she was inside him. His memories crashed over her. A young wolf watching his father die, a teenager taking a throne too heavy for his shoulders, a king searching endlessly for something he couldn't name, an alpha walking into a ballroom and seeing a she-wolf in jade silk, and knowing, mine, finally, mine. Kaya's eyes flew open, meeting Theron's storm-gray gaze as consciousness returned to him. For one endless moment they stared at each other, the truth hanging between them like lightning about to strike. He'd known. From the first glance across the ballroom, he'd recognized her as his mate. And now, through the healing, she'd felt it too. The bond that should have been impossible. An alpha king and an unbonded omega, tied together by fate itself. Blessed Luna, one of the healers whispered. It's a mate bond. A true one. Theron's hand came up to cup Kaya's cheek, his thumb brushing away tears she hadn't realized were falling. His lips moved, shaping words. Thank you. Then his eyes flickered again. Not rolling back this time, but changing. Silver bleeding to molten gold. Alpha energy exploded outward. Kaya was thrown backward, hitting the wall hard enough to drive the air from her lungs. The healers scattered with cries of alarm. Diagnostic crystals shattered, spraying the room with glittering fragments. Theron rose from the bed, but he wasn't entirely Theron anymore. His body shifted and flowed, caught between human and wolf, power rolling off him in waves that made the entire medical wing shake. "What's happening?" Kaya gasped. "I broke the curse." "You broke the wrong thing," the lead healer said, her voice tight with fear. "The curse was suppressing something, and now it's free." Theron's golden eyes fixed on Kaya with feral intensity. He moved toward her with predatory grace, and every instinct she possessed screamed conflicting commands. "Run! Submit, stay." "Your Majesty," the lead healer tried. "You need to calm down. The Omega saved your life." A growl rumbled through Theron's chest, so deep and primal that windows rattled. He backed Kaya against the wall, caging her with his arms, and lowered his head to breathe in her scent. The sound he made then was barely wolf, barely human, pure need and recognition and hunger. "Theron," Kaya whispered, even as her body responded to his closeness with a wave of heat she didn't understand. "Please, you're scaring me." His hand came up to trace the line of her throat, gentle despite the barely leashed power in his frame. He spoke, but the words came out in the ancient tongue, the first language of wolves, before humans taught them to speak. "He's not fully rational," a healer translated, her voice shaking. "The curse was suppressing his mating instincts. Now that it's broken." Theron's teeth found the junction of Kaya's neck and shoulder. "No!" The healer lunged forward. "Your Majesty, if you bite her now, before the bond is properly accepted—" "Too late." Theron's teeth sank deep. Pain exploded through Kaya's neck, sharp and burning and somehow electric all at once. She screamed, her hands flying up to push against Theron's chest, but he was immovable as stone. His teeth sank deeper, and she felt something fundamental shift inside her. Not just pain, power. His alpha essence pouring into her through the bite, mixing with her omega nature in ways that felt like her entire being was being rewritten. "Your Majesty, stop!" The lead healer's voice seemed to come from very far away. "The bond isn't stable. She'll die." But Theron didn't stop. Couldn't stop. His arms wrapped around Kaya's waist, pulling her closer as he drank deeply from the claiming bite. She could feel his heartbeat against her chest, syncing with hers. The bond thrummed with his emotions bleeding through. Desperation, need, recognition, mine, mine, mine. Then, as abruptly as it began, it ended. Theron released her and staggered backward, his golden eyes fading back to silver. He stared at his hands like they belonged to a stranger, then at Kaya, horror dawning across his features. "No," he breathed. "What did I—" Kaya slid down the wall, her hand pressed to her bleeding neck. The room spun sickeningly around her. She could feel Theron's essence inside her now, a foreign presence trying to merge with her own power, and her body didn't know whether to accept it or fight it. "Get her to a bed," the lead healer commanded. "Now!" Hands lifted Kaya. Not Theron's hands. He was being held back by two other healers, and placed her on the bed he'd just vacated. The sheets still held his warmth, his scent, and even through her pain, some part of Kaya wanted to burrow into that comfort. "The bite is deep," one healer muttered, examining her neck. "But that's not the main problem. The Alpha King's essence is too strong. Her Omega nature is trying to accept it, but her body isn't prepared for a forced bond." "Will she survive?" Theron's voice cracked on the question. He'd broken free from the healers restraining him and stood at the foot of Kaya's bed, his face ashen. "I don't know," the lead healer admitted. "Forced mate bonds are forbidden for exactly this reason. The Omega's body and magic need time to adjust, to willingly accept the Alpha's essence. When it's done violently—" She trailed off, her expression grim. Kaya tried to speak, but only a whimper escaped. Fire raced through her veins and she could feel her own magic, her grandmother's gift, rising up to fight the foreign alpha power invading her system. "Don't fight it," she told herself desperately. "He's your mate. Accept it. Let it in." But her power had its own survival instincts. It lashed out at Theron's essence, trying to burn it away, and the conflict made Kaya's body the battlefield. "There has to be something we can do," Theron rasped, his voice raw. "I won't let her die because I couldn't control." "There is one thing." The lead healer's tone was carefully neutral. "The bond can be severed. It's dangerous, but with her healing magic and our assistance, she might survive the separation." Silence fell over the medical chambers. "Severed?" Theron repeated slowly. "It's incomplete. Forced. Her body is rejecting it." The healer met his eyes steadily. "If we act now, before it settles deeper, we can break the mate bond. She'll live as she was before, a powerful healer, but unbonded." "And if we don't sever it?" Theron asked. "Then her body will continue fighting his essence until either she accepts it fully, which seems unlikely given the violent nature of the claiming, or the conflict kills her. Most forced bonds end in death within 3 days." Kaya watched through pain-hazed eyes as Theron processed this information. She saw the moment he made his decision, saw his shoulders straighten with terrible resolve. "Do it," he said quietly. "Break the bond." "No." The word tore from Kaya's throat, weak but determined. "Don't." Every head in the room turned to her. "Miss Sylvain," the lead healer began gently, "you don't understand what you're saying. The pain will only get worse. I understand perfectly." Kaya struggled to sit up, her hand still pressed to her bleeding neck. "He's my mate. I felt it when I healed him. I'm not letting you break that." "Kaya." Theron moved to her bedside, his expression anguished. "I forced this on you. I had no right. You deserve a choice." "Then let me make it." She met his eyes, even as another wave of pain rolled through her. "I choose to keep the bond." "You'll die," he said flatly. "Maybe." Kaya's laugh was bitter. "But I've been dying slowly for 3 years, hiding what I am, pretending my magic died with my grandmother. At least this way, I die as myself." "That's not—" His hands clenched. "I won't be responsible for your death." "You're not responsible for anything except finding me." Kaya reached out with her free hand, her fingers trembling. "You crossed that ballroom to choose me when everyone else had rejected me. You saw me when I was invisible. If this bond kills me, at least I'll die knowing I mattered to someone." Theron's composure cracked. He took her offered hand in both of his, pressing it to his chest. "You matter. You've always mattered. From the moment I saw you, I knew." He broke off, his jaw tensing. "But not like this. Not dying because I couldn't control my wolf." "Your Majesty," one of the healers interrupted hesitantly. "There may be another option. If the bond is truly a fated mate bond, then theoretically, if she can survive long enough for her body to fully accept your essence." "How long?" Theron demanded. 3 days. Maybe 4. The conflict will intensify before it resolves. She'll experience fever, pain, possibly hallucinations as her omega nature fights and eventually surrenders to your alpha claim. The healer's expression was grave. "Most don't survive the process. But if she does, the bond will be unbreakable." Kaya felt another surge of pain lance through her and couldn't suppress a gasp. Theron's grip on her hand tightened. "What are her chances?" he asked. "Honestly? Less than 1 in 10. And that's with her healing magic helping." The healer glanced at Kaya. "The fact that she's Sarah Sylvain's granddaughter might improve the odds slightly. Her bloodline is strong, but it's still a significant risk." 1 in 10, Kaya repeated, her voice steadier than she felt. "I'll take those odds." "I won't." Theron released her hand and stepped back. I won't gamble your life on a 1 in 10 chance of survival. It's not your choice to make, Kaya said firmly. It's mine. And I choose to fight for this bond. They stared at each other, two wills locked in conflict. Then Theron turned to the healers. Begin preparing the severance ritual. We'll do it within the hour. The doors to the medical wing crashed open. Draven strode in, flanked by royal guards, his expression twisted with false concern. I came as soon as I heard His Majesty had awakened. Thank the moon you've recovered. His amber eyes slid to Kaya on the bed. Though I see the Omega who was with you when you collapsed has taken ill. How unfortunate. Kaya saw Theron's entire demeanor change. The anguished mate became the Alpha King in a heartbeat. Shoulders back, expression controlled, power radiating from him in controlled waves. High Beta. Theron's voice held no warmth. Your concern is noted. Though I'm curious why you weren't informed immediately when I collapsed. Surely the guards reported directly to you. Calculation flickered in Draven's eyes. I was dealing with other urgent matters. By the time I arrived at the ballroom, you'd already been moved to the healing wing. How convenient. Theron's tone could have frozen fire. And these urgent matters, did they involve acquiring rare poisons, perhaps ones laced with curse magic? The medical chambers went silent. The guards flanking Draven shifted uncomfortably. Your Majesty, Draven said carefully, the stress of your illness seems to have confused you. Curse magic has been outlawed for 2 centuries. Yes, I'm aware. Theron moved toward his high beta with predatory grace. I'm also aware that someone administered a death curse to me tonight. Someone who had access to the refreshments before the ball began. Someone who would benefit from my death. Draven's expression remained perfectly composed. Those are serious accusations, Your Majesty. Do you have proof? I have 3 royal healers who can testify to the nature of the poison. I have Miss Sylvain, who identified and broke the curse. Theron's smile was razor-sharp. And I have the memory of your scent on my hand right before I collapsed. You touched me, Draven, right before the moonrise waltz. A brief touch, barely noticeable, but enough. For the first time, Draven's mask slipped. His amber eyes went cold and calculating. Even if any of that were true, which I categorically deny, the word of an unbonded Omega with a known grudge against high-ranking pack members carries little weight. Then it's fortunate I don't need her testimony alone. Theron turned to the lead healer. You documented the curse when you examined me, correct? Yes, Your Majesty. Full magical analysis preserved in crystal records. And you? Theron's attention swung to Draven's guards. You serve the crown, not the High Beta. I'm ordering you to detain Draven Ashmore pending investigation into attempted regicide. The guards hesitated, exchanging uncertain glances. Draven was their direct superior, but the Alpha King's authority was absolute. I'm also second in command of this kingdom, Draven said smoothly. You can't simply remove me based on speculation and the words of healers who might have misidentified. I'm the Alpha King of Lunaris. Theron's voice dropped to a growl that raised every hair on Kaya's arms. I can do whatever I damn well please. Guards, detain him. Now. This time, the guards moved. Draven didn't resist as they seized his arms, but his eyes promised murder as they dragged him toward the door. This isn't over, he said quietly, his gaze fixing on Kaya. That Omega has bewitched you, made you paranoid. You'll see the truth eventually. The only truth I see is that you tried to kill me. Theron's expression was granite. And you failed. Take him to the holding cells. Maximum security. No visitors. As the guards hauled Draven away, his final words drifted back. Ask her about Willowmere, Your Majesty. Ask her why Alpha Gregor really rejected her. Then decide if you still want a broken Omega as your mate. The doors slammed shut behind him. Kaya felt ice spread through her chest. Draven knew. Somehow he knew the real reason for her rejection, the secret she'd kept hidden even from Theron. Kaya! Theron's voice drew her back to the present. What did he mean? Nothing, she said quickly, too quickly. He's trying to manipulate you. To make you doubt. Another wave of pain hit, stronger than before. Her body convulsed, and she felt her magic surge wildly, fighting Theron's essence with renewed desperation. Your mate's condition is deteriorating, the lead healer announced urgently. Your Majesty, we need to make a decision now. Sever the bond or commit to letting her fight through the acceptance. We can't wait any longer. Theron turned back to Kaya, his mercury eyes searching her face. Tell me the truth. What did Draven mean about Willowmere? It doesn't matter. Kaya gasped through the pain. What matters is whether you trust me enough to let me keep this bond. This isn't about trust. It's exactly about trust. Kaya forced herself to meet his eyes. You trusted me to heal you. Now trust me to survive this. Theron made his decision. We keep the bond, he told the healers. Do whatever you can to help her body accept it. Relief and terror warred in Kaya's chest. She'd gotten what she wanted, the chance to keep her mate. But now she had to actually survive it. The healers moved with efficient urgency, surrounding her bed with crystals meant to stabilize her vital signs and herbs to ease the pain. But nothing could stop the fundamental battle raging inside her. You should rest, Your Majesty, the lead healer said to Theron. You nearly died tonight yourself. Your body needs recovery time. I'm not leaving her. The words were absolute. Theron pulled a chair to Kaya's bedside and took her hand. Not until this is finished. The hours that followed blurred together into a nightmare of pain and fever. Kaya drifted in and out of consciousness, never fully awake, never fully asleep. In her lucid moments, she was aware of Theron's hand holding hers, his voice speaking softly in the ancient tongue, words of comfort and apology. In her fever dreams, she was elsewhere entirely. She stood in Willowmere's town square, 3 years younger and infinitely more naive. Her grandmother had been dead for a month, and Kaya was still learning to hide her inherited magic. But on that day, she'd made a mistake. A child had fallen from a tree, his arm bent at an unnatural angle. The mother's screams had drawn a crowd, and Kaya had been there, her healer's instincts overriding caution. She'd pressed her glowing hands to the broken arm and mended it in seconds. Bone straightened, flesh healed, the boy's screams turning to confused wonder. The crowd had gone silent. Then the whispers started. Magic. Like Sarah. The bloodline didn't die. Dangerous. Alpha Gregor had been there that day, had watched with calculating eyes as Kaya healed the child. 3 weeks later, he'd courted her publicly, and Kaya had been foolish enough to hope. Then came the rejection. Your family's magic died with your grandmother, Gregor had announced for all to hear. You're useless to any pack. But later, in private, he'd cornered her outside her cottage. I know what you can do, he'd said quietly. I saw you heal that boy. Your magic is alive and well. Then why? Kaya had started. Because I need an Omega who will be grateful for my claiming. Desperate enough to do whatever I ask. His smile had been cruel. If I claimed you publicly, you'd think you had power. But if I reject you first, then offer to reconsider, well, you'd be willing to use that healing magic however I demanded. Wouldn't you? Kaya had run, had hidden, had watched 3 weeks later as Gregor claimed Velena instead, and realized she'd been saved by her own rejection. But the damage was done. Everyone believed her bloodline was broken, and Kaya had let them believe it, because the alternative was being used as a tool. Or worse, being burned as her great-grandmother had been, for possessing power that frightened ordinary wolves. Kaya surfaced from the memory with a gasp. The medical chambers had grown dark. Evening, maybe, or early morning. She'd lost track of time. Theron still sat beside her bed, but his head had drooped forward in exhausted sleep, his hand still holding hers. Even in sleep, he looked troubled. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and tension lined his face. He stayed, Kaya thought wonderingly. He nearly died tonight, and he stayed with me. She tried to squeeze his hand, to wake him gently, but her grip was too weak. And as she watched him sleep, another wave of pain rolled through her body. This time, it felt different. Not her magic fighting his essence, but tension easing. Accommodating. Like two puzzle pieces finally beginning to fit together. But the relief was short-lived. As Theron's essence settled deeper into her core, Kaya felt something else awakening. The omega heat she'd been suppressing since she came of age, held back by her own magic and sheer willpower. The mate bond was triggering it. Kaya bit back a whimper as unfamiliar needs surged through her body. She'd never experienced heat before, had used her healing magic to suppress it, not wanting to draw unwanted alpha attention while unmated. But now, with Theron's essence inside her and the bond trying to complete itself, her body demanded what nature intended, her mate's claim, full and complete. "No," Kaya whispered. "Not yet. Too soon." But her omega nature didn't care about timing. It recognized its alpha and wanted him. Now. Theron stirred at her whispered words, his eyes opening slowly. "Kaya? Are you—" He stopped, his nostrils flaring, his pupils dilated as he caught the scent of her emerging heat. Moon's mercy. "I'm sorry," Kaya gasped. "I can't control it. The bond is triggering." "It's all right." Theron released her hand and stood quickly. "I'll get the healers. They can give you something to suppress." "No." Kaya's hand shot out, catching his wrist with surprising strength. "Don't leave. Please." "Kaya, you're in heat. If I stay, my instincts—" He closed his eyes, muscles tensing. "I barely controlled my wolf before. I won't risk hurting you again." "You won't hurt me." Kaya tugged weakly on his wrist. "I trust you. I don't trust myself." But despite his words, Theron didn't pull away. He sank back into the chair, his free hand rubbing his face. "This is my fault. All of it. I should have stayed away from you at the ball, should have controlled myself instead of claiming you without permission. If you'd stayed away, you'd be dead." Kaya forced herself to focus through the haze of heat. "Draven would have killed you, and no one would have known it was murder." "Better me dead than you suffering." "Don't say that." Her grip on his wrist tightened. "Don't you dare say that. You matter, Theron. Not just as the Alpha King, as a person. You matter to me." Theron's expression softened. He brought her hand to his lips, pressing a gentle kiss to her knuckles, an echo of their moment on the dance floor that felt like a lifetime ago. "Tell me about Willowmere," he said quietly. "What Draven meant. What really happened with Alpha Gregor." Kaya hesitated. The truth would make her seem calculating, might make Theron question whether she really wanted the bond or just wanted to escape her past. But they were mates, and mates didn't lie to each other. So she told him. Everything. The child with the broken arm, Gregor's manipulation, the attempted coercion, the fear of being used or burned like her ancestors. By the time she finished, Theron's expression had gone cold with fury. "He tried to blackmail you into being his tool," Theron said flatly, "using your magic for his benefit." "Yes, but I refused. That's why he rejected me publicly, to punish me for not cooperating." Kaya met his eyes. "So when Draven said I'm broken, he's not entirely wrong. I've been hiding what I am for 3 years, living half a life because I was too afraid to be whole. You're not broken. Theron's voice was passionate. You're a survivor. There's a difference. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, pain seized her again, stronger than before. She cried out and felt Theron's hands on her shoulders steadying her. The fever's getting worse, he called out. A healer appeared, not the lead healer from before, but a younger woman who'd been on night shift. What can we do? At this stage? Very little. The healer checked Kaya's pulse, her expression troubled. The bond is trying to settle, but her heat is complicating things. Her body wants full mate completion, but she's too weak for that. It's a dangerous cycle. How dangerous? Theron demanded. If the heat continues to intensify without completion, it could kill her as surely as bond rejection. The healer's voice was gentle but honest. I'm sorry, Your Majesty. We're doing everything we can. Kaya felt herself slipping away from consciousness again, pulled under by fever and need and pain. The last thing she heard was Theron's voice, rough with anguish. Don't leave me. Please, Kaya, don't leave me. Kaya woke to voices arguing in hushed tones. Deteriorating faster than we anticipated. The heat is consuming her from inside. Miracle she's lasted this long. She tried to open her eyes, but her eyelids felt weighted. Everything hurt. Her bones ached like they were trying to reshape themselves. Her skin felt too tight, too hot, like she was burning from within. How long? Theron's voice cut through the other sounds. He sounded wrecked, desperate. Hours, maybe less. That was the lead healer. Your Majesty, I know this isn't what you want to hear, but perhaps it's time to reconsider the severance. No. The word was absolute. She chose to keep the bond. I won't override that choice. Even if it kills her? Silence, then. Even then. It's her life. Her choice. Kaya wanted to tell him he was right, that she didn't regret her choice, but her throat was too dry to form words. Instead, she let consciousness slip away again, back into the fever dreams. This time, she stood in a forest under moonlight. Not the manicured gardens of Moonshadow Palace, but true wilderness, ancient trees that had never known an axe, earth that remembered when wolves ran on 4 legs more often than 2. You're dying, child. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Kaya turned and saw a she-wolf with silver-white fur and eyes like starlight. Power radiated from her. Not aggressive, but undeniable. This was no ordinary wolf. Who are you? Kaya asked. I am the first mother, the one your kind calls Moon Goddess. The wolf circled Kaya slowly. And you are at a crossroads, little healer. Your body fights what your soul has already accepted. I'm trying to accept it, Kaya protested. The bond, his essence, I want it, but my magic keeps fighting. Not your magic, your fear. The first mother sat, her tail curling around her paws. You fear being owned, being used. You spent 3 years hiding because wolves like Gregor taught you that your gifts make you a tool to be exploited. Kaya couldn't deny it. And now I'm bound to the most powerful wolf in the kingdom. How is that different? Because he crossed a ballroom to choose you when you were invisible. Because he stayed by your bedside when he should have been recovering from poison. Because he's willing to let you die rather than force you to live against your will. The divine wolf's eyes gleamed. That is not ownership, child. That is love. I barely know him, Kaya whispered. Your soul knows him. That's what mate bonds are. Recognition of what has always been true. The first mother stood. But if you cannot surrender your fear, cannot trust him with your whole self, then the bond will remain incomplete. And incomplete bonds are poison in the blood. What do I do? Stop hiding. Stop holding back. Let him see all of you. The power, the pain, the parts you think are too broken to be loved. The moon goddess began to fade. And trust that he will choose you anyway, as he already has. Kaya's eyes flew open. The medical chambers were empty except for Theron, still sitting vigil beside her bed. Dawn light filtered through the windows, painting everything in shades of gold and rose. He looked terrible. Exhaustion shadowed his features, stubble darkening his jaw, and his formal clothes from the ball were rumpled and stained. But he was there. He'd stayed. Theron, Kaya whispered. His head snapped up, storm-gray eyes widening. Kaya, thank the moon. He reached for her hand, then stopped himself. How are you feeling? Like I'm dying, she admitted. Because I am. Aren't I? His jaw set. The healers say hours, maybe less. Your body can't sustain this conflict much longer. Then I need to stop fighting. Kaya struggled to sit up. Theron moved to help her, his hands gentle on her shoulders. The moon goddess told me, in the dream, I need to stop holding back. The moon goddess? Theron's brow furrowed. Kaya, the fever might be causing hallucinations. Maybe. Probably. Kaya managed a weak smile, but she was right anyway. I've been afraid that accepting this bond means losing myself, becoming just yours, a tool for someone else to use. Understanding dawned in Theron's eyes, because of Gregor, because of a lot of things, but mostly because I've spent 3 years hiding what I am, and the thought of being fully seen. She trailed off. It terrifies me. Kaya. Theron cupped her face with both hands, his touch infinitely careful. I see you. I saw you in that ballroom when you were trying to be invisible. I see your magic, your strength, your fear, all of it. And I choose you. Not as a tool, not as a possession, as my mate, my equal. How can I be your equal? Kaya asked. You're the Alpha King. I'm an unbonded Omega with a secret I've been hiding for 3 years. You broke a curse that was killing me. You stood up to a high beta who tried to have you arrested. You chose to fight for our bond when you could have walked away. Theron's thumbs brushed away tears she hadn't realized were falling. You think that makes you weak? Kaya, you're the strongest wolf I've ever met. Warmth bloomed in Kaya's chest at his words. The fear that had been coiled around her heart since Gregor's rejection began to unwind. I don't know how to do this, she admitted. How to be someone's mate. How to accept being bound to another person. We'll figure it out together. Theron pressed his forehead to hers. But first, you need to survive. And I think the moon goddess, hallucination or not, was right. You need to stop fighting the bond, let my essence in, fully. What if I can't? What if my magic still fights? Then we fail. But at least we fail trying. He pulled back enough to meet her eyes. Tell your magic to stand down, Kaya. Tell it I'm not the enemy. Tell it. Tell it I love you. Her breathing hitched. You can't. We've known each other for 2 days. I've loved you since the moment I saw you in that ballroom, trying to make yourself invisible while wearing a dress that made you shine like starlight. Theron's smile was crooked, vulnerable in a way she'd never seen from him. I've been searching for you my entire life. I just didn't know what I was looking for until I found you. The last of Kaya's resistance crumbled. She closed her eyes and reached deep inside to where her magic had been fighting Theron's alpha essence. She felt it there, 2 powers locked in combat, neither willing to yield. Stand down, she told her magic. He's not Gregor. He's not anyone who wants to use us. He's our mate. Let him in. Her magic hesitated, decades of survival instinct warring with her conscious choice. Please, Kaya begged, Trust me, trust him, let him in. Slowly, incrementally, her magic stopped fighting. Theron's essence rushed in to fill the space, and this time, instead of conflict, there was harmony. His alpha power wrapped around her omega nature like an embrace, and she felt their souls click into place with an almost audible snap. The mate bond sealed itself with a flash of warm golden light. Kaya gasped as sensation flooded through her. Not pain this time, but overwhelming rightness. His emotions washed over her through the connection. Relief, joy, love so intense it took her breath away. And beneath it all, she could feel his wolf recognizing hers. Mine, ours, home. It worked. The lead healer murmured from somewhere nearby. When had she come in? The bond is stable. She's going to live. Theron pulled Kaya against his chest, his whole body shaking. She felt him crying. I thought I'd lost you, he said roughly against her hair. I thought, I'm here. Kaya wrapped her arms around him, marveling at how right it felt. I'm not going anywhere. They stayed like that for long moments, just holding each other while the bond hummed between them, new and strong and unbreakable. Finally, Theron pulled back enough to look at her. The heat, he said carefully. It's still there. I can sense it through our connection. You're going to need... He broke off, color rising in his cheeks. Kaya felt her own face heat. The urgency had lessened with the bond's completion, but Theron was right. Her omega heat was still burning through her, demanding completion of a different kind. The healers can suppress it, Theron continued quickly. Give you suppressants until your body calms down. We don't have to. Stop. Kaya placed her hand over his mouth, silencing him. I know we don't have to. But I want to. She lowered her hand, suddenly shy. Unless you don't? Want to, I mean. Theron made a sound that was half laugh, half groan. Kaya, I've wanted to since the moment you took my hand in that ballroom, but you nearly died. You need rest, not... What I need, Kaya interrupted, is my mate. Fully, completely, no more holding back. Their eyes locked, and she felt the exact moment his control snapped through their connection. His mercury eyes flashed gold, and a low growl rumbled through his chest. The healers, he choked out, can give us privacy. Kaya's omega nature surged forward, confident in a way she'd never been before. I'm sure there are private recovery rooms. This is a terrible idea, Theron said, even as his hand came up to cup her face. You're still weak. I could hurt you. You won't. Kaya leaned into his touch. I trust you. Remember? That did it. Theron stood, scooped Kaya into his arms like she weighed nothing, and addressed the lead healer without looking away from his mate. We need a private room. Now. The healer's expression was knowing. Of course, Your Majesty. The royal suite on the 3rd floor should suffice. I'll make sure you're not disturbed. As Theron carried Kaya from the medical chambers, she caught sight of dawn breaking fully over Moonshadow Palace. 3 days ago, she'd been an unbonded, rejected Omega, trying to be invisible. Now she was the Alpha King's mate, bound by the moon goddess herself, about to complete the bond in the oldest way wolves knew. No regrets? Theron asked softly as he navigated the corridors. Kaya looked up at him. This powerful, complicated wolf who'd chosen her when no one else would, and smiled. None. You? His answer was to kiss her, deep and claiming and full of promise. The door to the royal suite closed behind them, and Kaya's new life truly began. Kaya woke wrapped in silk sheets and her mate's arms, their bond fully sealed in the ancient way of wolves. She felt more whole than she had in years, body humming with satisfied contentment. The royal suite's windows let in afternoon light. She'd slept through most of the day after their bond completion. Her body still ached, but it was a pleasant soreness now, not the tearing pain of before. Theron's steady heartbeat against her back was the most comforting sound she'd ever heard. "You're awake," he murmured, his lips finding the claiming mark on her neck. The touch sent pleasant shivers through her. "How do you feel?" "Different." Kaya turned in his arms to face him. "Stronger. Like I can feel your wolf alongside mine. That's the bond." Theron's hand traced idle patterns on her bare shoulder. "We're connected now. I can sense your emotions, feel when you're in danger, and you can feel mine." Kaya tested it, reaching through the golden thread that now connected them. She felt his contentment, his wonder, and beneath it, worry. "What's wrong?" His eyes met hers. "Draven. He's been in the holding cells for 2 days now, and the council is demanding answers. They want to know why I've imprisoned my high beta without a formal trial." "He tried to kill you," Kaya said flatly. "I know. You know. The healers know." Theron sat up, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "But the council needs proof beyond healer testimony and my word. They're saying I'm acting rashly because of—" He gestured between them. "The new mate bond. Claiming I'm not thinking clearly." Kaya felt anger spike through her. "They think you're compromised because of me. They think I'm compromised because they're used to me being alone. Unmated. Focused solely on kingdom business." His jaw set. "The fact that my mate is an unbonded Omega who appeared out of nowhere only makes them more suspicious." "I'm sorry," Kaya whispered. "I'm causing problems for you already." "No." Theron cupped her face, fervent and certain. "You saved my life. Everything else is politics, and I've been navigating politics since I was 16. We'll handle it." A knock at the door interrupted them. "Your Majesty?" a guard's voice called. "High Council demands an emergency session in 1 hour. They're invoking ancient law. You must attend." Theron's expression darkened. "Of course they are." He raised his voice. Acknowledged. "We'll be there." "We?" Kaya asked. "You're my mate. You have every right to attend council sessions now." Theron's smile was grim. "Besides, they'll want to meet you. Probably interrogate you about how a rejected Omega convinced the Alpha King to mate bond within 48 hours of meeting him." An hour later, Kaya stood beside Theron in Moonshadow Palace's council chamber, wearing borrowed clothes from the royal wardrobe and trying not to feel terrified. The chamber was circular, with high windows and stone walls carved with the history of Lunaris. 12 seats ringed the room, one for each council member, with the Alpha King's throne elevated above them all. The council members filed in, their expressions ranging from curious to openly hostile. Kaya recognized some from the Lunar Ball. Lady Morgana of the Eastern Pax, her silver hair piled high, Lord Caspian of the merchant clans, his calculating eyes missing nothing, and others she didn't know, all of them radiating power and suspicion. Alpha King Theron. Lady Morgana spoke first, her tone icy. "We're glad to see you recovered from your mysterious illness, though we have concerns about recent events." "I'm sure you do." Theron remained standing beside his throne rather than sitting, a power move Kaya recognized. "Let's address them directly. You want to know why I've imprisoned High Beta Draven? We want to know why you've imprisoned him without formal charges, without investigation, and without allowing him counsel or visitors," Lord Caspian corrected. "Ancient law protects even the accused from arbitrary detention." "There's nothing arbitrary about it. Draven poisoned me with a death curse at the Lunar Ball." Theron's voice was flat, absolute. "He administered it through physical contact right before the Moonrise Waltz." 3 royal healers have documented the curse's magical signature. Miss Sylvain broke it and saved my life. All eyes turned to Kaya. She felt the weight of their scrutiny and forced herself to stand straight. Convenient, Lady Morgana said coolly, that the only witness to this alleged poisoning is your new mate. An Omega you met that very evening and bonded with days later. Are you suggesting I'm lying? Kaya asked, her voice sharper than she intended. I'm suggesting your testimony is compromised by obvious bias. Lady Morgana's smile was thin. And your sudden appearance in the Alpha King's life raises questions. Where did you come from? Who are your people? What could possibly make an unbonded Omega worthy of our king's mate bond? Heat crawled up Kaya's neck, but Theron's power filled the room like thunder. Careful, Morgana. His voice dropped to a growl. You're questioning my judgment and insulting my mate. Neither will be tolerated. We question nothing, Your Majesty. Lord Caspian intervened smoothly. We simply seek clarity. The kingdom needs to understand how a wolf none of us had heard of 3 days ago is now our future queen. Future queen. Kaya hadn't thought that far ahead, had been too focused on surviving the bond to consider political implications. Kaya Sylvain is granddaughter to Sarah the Healer, Theron said. Her bloodline carries the ancient gift of life magic. She's from Willowmere, where she's served as an herbalist for years. And she's my mate. Recognized by the moon goddess herself through a true mate bond. That makes her more than worthy. Sarah's bloodline? Lady Morgana's eyes sharpened. I thought that magic died out. It didn't. It went into hiding. Kaya found her voice again. My grandmother taught me to conceal my gift because she feared what wolves like Alpha Gregor would do with it. She was right to be afraid. Alpha Gregor of the Northern Pax rejected you publicly, didn't he? Lord Caspian's tone was deceptively mild. 3 weeks before the lunar ball. Why? Because I refused to let him use my healing gift for his political benefit. Kaya met his eyes steadily. He wanted a tool, not a mate. When I said no, he rejected me to punish me. Murmurs rippled through the council. Several members exchanged glances. And yet, Lady Morgana pressed, within weeks of that rejection, you appear at the lunar ball, an event you'd need an invitation to attend, and catch the Alpha King's eye. Quite the coincidence. The invitations went to every wolf in Lunaris, Kaya replied. I had as much right to attend as anyone. Did you know the Alpha King would be there? Lord Caspian asked. Everyone believed he was in the Northern Territories. Kaya felt the trap closing. No, I didn't know. So you attended the ball with no expectations, no plans, and happened to be standing in the exact spot where the Alpha King would see you when he entered? Lady Morgana's skepticism was obvious, and he crossed an entire ballroom to ask you, specifically you, a rejected Omega, to dance? Yes, Theron cut in, his voice hard. Because I recognized my mate the moment I saw her. That's how true mate bonds work, Morgana. Or have you forgotten? I haven't forgotten. Lady Morgana's expression remained cool. But true mate bonds don't typically form overnight. They require time, proximity, mutual knowledge. What you're describing sounds more like magical manipulation than divine fate. Are you accusing my mate of using magic to trick me? Theron's power crackled through the room like lightning. Several council members flinched. I'm saying it's a possibility we must investigate. Lady Morgana didn't back down. If High Beta Draven is to be tried for attempted regicide, we need to ensure our king's judgment hasn't been compromised by external influence. My judgment is fine, Theron said through gritted teeth. Then prove it. Lord Caspian stood. Allow us to bring in a truth seeker. Let them examine both you and Miss Sylvain to verify there's no magical coercion at work. If the mate bond is genuine, as you claim, then you have nothing to fear from investigation. Silence fell over the council chamber. Kaya felt Theron's rage through their connection, but also his calculation. He was trapped. If he refused the investigation, the council would claim he was compromised. If he accepted, Kaya would be subjected to invasive magical examination. Fine, Theron said finally. Bring your truth seeker. But I want Draven examined first. Let's see if his guilt is as clear as I know it to be. Agreed, Lady Morgana said. We'll convene the full investigation tomorrow at dawn. Until then, Miss Sylvain will be kept in protective custody. She stays with me, Theron interrupted. Your Majesty, if she's potentially influencing you magically, keeping her close, is my choice to make? Theron's voice was absolute. She's my mate. She stays with me. Unless the council wishes to challenge the Alpha King's authority over his own mate bond? The challenge hung in the air. No one spoke. Dawn then, Lord Caspian said finally. We'll see what truth reveals. As the council dismissed, Kaya felt Theron's hand find hers. Through their bond, she felt his determination and his fear. Not for himself, but for her. They're going to try to break us apart. His thoughts whispered through the connection. Let them try, Kaya thought back. We survived worse. But as they left the council chamber, Kaya caught sight of something that made her blood run cold. Carved into the stone wall above the doorway was an ancient symbol, one her grandmother had shown her years ago, the mark of the truth seekers. Wolves who could tear through mental defenses and expose every secret, every hidden truth, every moment of shame or fear. Tomorrow, strangers would rifle through her mind like it was a book, would see her rejection by Gregor, her years of hiding, her desperate hope at the lunar ball, every vulnerable moment laid bare for the council's judgment. Kaya? Theron's voice was gentle. What's wrong? Nothing, she lied. Then, through the bond, everything. I'm terrified. His arms came around her, and she buried her face in his chest. Whatever they find in your mind, Theron murmured against her hair, it won't change how I feel. You're mine. Nothing the truth seekers reveal will change that. Kaya wanted to believe him, but as night fell over Moonshadow Palace, she couldn't shake the feeling that tomorrow would test their bond in ways poison and fever never had. Some truths, after all, were more dangerous than curses. Dawn came too quickly. Kaya stood in the council chamber beside Theron, facing 3 truth seekers in flowing silver robes. They were ancient wolves, their eyes clouded with the milky white of those who saw beyond surface reality. The eldest stepped forward, her gnarled hand reaching toward Kaya's face. This will not hurt, the truth seeker said, her voice papery with age. But you will feel exposed. Vulnerable. Every memory, every secret, every truth you've hidden, we will see it all. I understand, Kaya replied, trying to keep her voice steady. We begin with the Omega, Lady Morgana announced from her council seat, to establish whether magical manipulation occurred. The truth seeker's fingers touched Kaya's temples, and the world dissolved. Memories cascaded through Kaya's mind like falling water, her grandmother teaching her to heal, warning her to hide. Alpha Gregor's cruel rejection, his attempt at blackmail, standing alone at the lunar ball, trying to be invisible. Theron's eyes finding hers across the ballroom. The jolt of recognition, the mate bond snapping into place. Everything that came after. Poison, healing, claiming, acceptance. The truth seeker released her, and Kaya stumbled. Theron caught her instantly, his arm steadying her. Well? Lord Caspian demanded. What did you find? The eldest truth seeker turned to face the council. No deception. No magical coercion. The Omega genuinely believed her bloodline was broken until she used her gift to save the Alpha King. She attended the lunar ball with no expectation of meeting her mate. The bond formed naturally, a true recognition ordained by the moon goddess herself. Relief flooded through Kaya, followed immediately by Theron's satisfaction through their connection. But Lady Morgana wasn't finished. And what of her character? Is she worthy of being our queen? The truth seeker was silent for a long moment. She is stronger than she believes, braver than she knows, and capable of great love and great sacrifice. The ancient wolf's clouded eyes fixed on Kaya. She will make a fine queen if you give her the chance. Then we move to High Beta Draven, Theron said immediately. Let's see what truths he's been hiding. Guards brought Draven into the chamber in chains. 2 days of imprisonment had done nothing to diminish his arrogance. His amber eyes swept the council with disdain, landing finally on Kaya with undisguised hatred. This is a farce, Draven said. You have no evidence. We have 2 days' worth of investigation, Theron interrupted. My guards searched your quarters. They found several interesting things. Care to explain the vial of concentrated wolfsbane in your private safe, or the correspondence with wolves in territories hostile to Lunaris? Draven's expression didn't change. I'm High Beta. I maintain contacts across all territories, and wolfsbane has legitimate medicinal uses. Not when mixed with curse magic, Theron said coldly. The royal healers analyzed the poison. It matches the contents of your vial exactly. Circumstantial. But Draven's voice had lost some of its certainty. Then you won't mind truth seekers examining your memories, Lady Morgana said. For once, she and Theron were in agreement. The truth seekers approached Draven. He tried to pull away, but the guards held him firm. When the ancient wolf's fingers touched his temples, Draven's face went white. No, wait, you can't. Too late. The truth seeker's power flooded through him, and Draven's memories played out for all to see. Draven in the Northern Territories, meeting with rebel wolves. The Alpha King has no heir. When he dies, the throne will be contested. Draven purchasing curse magic from a dark practitioner. Administering the poison at the lunar ball, brushing Theron's hand as he passed, watching Theron collapse and feeling satisfaction, planning to frame Kaya for the murder. The truth seekers released him, and Draven sagged in the guard's grip. Around the council chamber, shocked silence reigned. Traitor, Lord Caspian said softly. You plan to assassinate our king and destabilize the entire kingdom. I was saving the kingdom. Draven's composure finally cracked. From him. He glared at Theron with pure hatred. You're weak. Distracted. The northern territories are in rebellion. The eastern pacts are fracturing, and what do? Dance with some unbonded omega and mate bond like a lovesick pup. I united this kingdom 15 years ago, Theron said, his voice deadly calm. I've maintained peace through strength and diplomacy. The rebellions you mention exist because wolves like you have been feeding them lies and resources. The kingdom needs strong leadership, not a king who loses his mind over the first pretty omega who shows him attention. Draven's laugh was bitter. At least I tried to do it quickly. Poison was merciful. You'll destroy Lunaris slowly, one distraction at a time. Take him to the execution grounds, Lady Morgana ordered, her voice heavy. The sentence for attempted regicide is death by silver, to be carried out immediately. No. Theron's words stopped the guards. Not death. Exile. The council erupted in protest. Your Majesty, he tried to kill you. Ancient law demands. Cannot show mercy to traitors. I'm not showing mercy. Theron's voice cut through the chaos. I'm denying him martyrdom. Execute him, and rebels will claim he died for standing against a weak king. Exile him, and he lives as a wolf without a pack, without purpose, stripped of all honor and authority. That's worse than death. Silence fell as the council considered this. The Northern Territories, Kaya said abruptly, surprising herself. Exile him there. Let the wolves he conspired with see what happens to traitors who fail. Theron's gaze met hers, and through their bond, she felt his approval. The Omega speaks wisdom. Draven will be exiled to the Northern Territories, stripped of rank and property. Let him live out his days explaining his failure to those he betrayed us with. So be it, Lady Morgana said after a pause, though I hope you know what you're doing, Your Majesty. I do. Theron watched as guards dragged Draven away, the former High Beta's curses echoing through the chamber. I know exactly what I'm doing. As the council began to disperse, several members approached Kaya, some with apologies for doubting her, others with careful courtesy. Lord Caspian bowed formally. Welcome to Lunaris, future queen. May your reign be long and prosperous. Hours later, after endless political discussions and formal introductions, Kaya finally found herself alone with Theron in his private chambers. The sun was setting over Moonshadow Palace, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. Are you all right? Theron asked, pulling her into his arms. That was a lot for one day. I'm fine. Kaya leaned into his warmth. Better than fine. For the first time in 3 years, I don't have to hide what I am. The council knows. The kingdom will know. And I'm not afraid anymore. Good. Theron's lips found her claiming mark, making her shiver. Because we have work to do. The Northern Territories really are in rebellion, and now that Draven's gone, we need a new High Beta. Any candidates in mind? Kaya asked. Several. But first. Theron turned her to face him, his expression turning serious. We need to discuss our public mating ceremony. Kaya blinked. Public ceremony? It's tradition. The Alpha King's mating must be witnessed by all the major packs, celebrated with feast and ritual. Theron's thumb traced her cheekbone. It's essentially a wedding. A very public, very political wedding where every wolf in Lunaris will be watching us. Oh. Kaya's stomach fluttered with nerves. When? 3 months, traditionally. Though we could delay if you need more time to prepare. No. Kaya surprised herself with her certainty. 3 months is fine. I'm not hiding anymore, remember? Let them all see. Let them know the unbonded Omega from Willowmere is their queen. Theron's smile was fervent and proud. That's my mate. He kissed her then, deep and claiming, and Kaya felt the bond between them pulse with warm golden light. Through that connection, she felt his love, his pride, his absolute certainty that they belonged together. When they finally broke apart, Kaya moved to the window, looking out over Moonshadow Palace's grounds. In the distance, she could see the lights of the city, hundreds of wolves going about their evening routines. Her people now. Her kingdom. Theron? She said softly. What did you mean earlier, when you said you'd been searching for something your whole life? He came to stand behind her, his arms wrapping around her waist. Exactly that. I became king at 16, and for 15 years I've done my duty. United the packs. Maintained peace. Made hard decisions. His voice dropped. But I always felt like something was missing. Like I was only half alive, going through the motions. Until I saw you. What changed when you saw me? Kaya asked. Everything. Theron rested his chin on top of her head. I understood why I'd never chosen a mate before, why no wolf had ever felt right. I was waiting for you. My soul recognized yours before my mind even processed what was happening. Kaya turned in his arms, tears pricking her eyes. I thought I'd spend my whole life alone, hiding my magic, pretending to be less than I was, convinced that's all I deserved after Gregor's rejection. You deserved everything, Theron said ardently. You always did. Gregor was a fool who couldn't see your worth, but I see it. I'll spend the rest of our lives making sure you never doubt it again." "Promise?" Kaya whispered. "Promise." He sealed it with a kiss, and through their bond, Kaya felt the weight of his vow settle into her soul. 3 months passed in a blur of preparation. Kaya learned statecraft from Lady Morgana, pack law from Lord Caspian, and the intricate politics of managing a kingdom from Theron himself. She visited Willowmere to reconcile with her parents and bring her old friend Mira to serve as her lady-in-waiting. "I can't believe you're getting mated to the Alpha King," Mira had whispered, staring at Moonshadow Palace in wonder. "You went from village herbalist to queen in 3 months." "Technically, I'm not queen until the ceremony," Kaya had corrected. But inside, she'd marveled at the same thing. The public mating ceremony took place on the night of the harvest moon. Every major pack sent representatives. The ceremony grounds were decorated with silver and gold, and hundreds of wolves gathered to witness their king claim his mate. Kaya wore a gown of moonlight silk, her hair woven with star flowers. As she walked toward the ceremonial circle where Theron waited, she heard the whispers. "The unbonded Omega. Heard she saved his life. True mate bond. So beautiful." But the whispers didn't bother her anymore. She held her head high, walked with confidence, and when she reached Theron, his storm-gray eyes blazed with love and pride. The moon priestess performed the ancient ritual, binding their hands with silver cord while reciting blessings. Theron spoke his vows in the old tongue, then in common speech, so all could understand. "I, Theron Stormborn, Alpha King of Lunaris, claim you, Kaya Sylvain, as my mate before the moon goddess and all witnesses. I pledge my protection, my honor, my heart, and my life to you until the stars fall from the sky." Kaya's voice shook only slightly as she responded. "I, Kaya Sylvain, accept your claim. I pledge my loyalty, my love, my magic, and my life to you and to Lunaris. From this night forward, we are one soul, one heart, one purpose." The priestess unbound their hands and raised their joined palms to the sky. "By the light of the moon goddess, I declare this mating complete. What she has joined, let no wolf tear asunder." The gathered packs erupted in celebration. Drums began to beat, wolves howled their approval to the moon, and Theron pulled Kaya into his arms for a kiss that made the crowd roar with delight. "My queen," he murmured against her lips. "My king," she answered, and felt the rightness of it settle into her bones. The celebration feast lasted until dawn. Kaya danced with Theron, with council members, with pack leaders who'd traveled from across Lunaris to meet their new queen. Some still looked skeptical, but most seemed willing to accept her, especially after word spread of how she'd broken the death curse and exposed Draven's treason. As the sky began to lighten with approaching sunrise, Theron led Kaya away from the feast, up to the highest tower of Moonshadow Palace. From there, they could see the entire kingdom spread below them. Forests and fields, villages and cities, all of Lunaris bathed in the gentle light of dawn. "This is ours now," Theron said quietly, "to protect, to serve, to lead." "Together," Kaya added, lacing her fingers through his. "Together," he agreed. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the sunrise paint the world in gold and rose. Kaya thought about the girl she'd been 3 months ago. Alone, rejected, hiding her gifts because she was afraid. That girl seemed like a stranger now. "What are you thinking?" Theron asked. "That I almost missed this." Kaya leaned into his side. "If Mira hadn't convinced me to attend the lunar ball, if I'd let fear keep me home, we never would have met." "We would have met eventually." Theron sounded certain. "Fate has a way of bringing mates together. It just might have taken longer." "I'm glad it didn't." Kaya turned to face him. I'm glad you saw me. I'm glad you chose me. I'm glad we fought for this bond when it would have been easier to walk away. Walking away was never an option. Theron cupped her face with both hands. From the moment I saw you in that ballroom, trying to make yourself invisible in a dress that made you shine, I knew. You were mine. You've always been mine. I just had to convince you to believe it. Kaya kissed him then, pouring 3 months of love and gratitude and wonder into it. Through their bond, she felt his emotions mirror hers. Joy, contentment, absolute certainty that they were exactly where they belonged. Just as she opened her mouth to speak, Theron rested his forehead against hers. I love you, Kaya Stormborn. The new name sent warmth spiraling through her chest. I love you too. Ready to face the kingdom as queen? Kaya looked out over Lunaris one more time, at the wolves beginning to stir in the city below, at the forests where wild packs still ran, at the mountains in the distance that marked the borders of their realm. It was vast and complicated and full of challenges she'd never dreamed of facing, but she wasn't alone. She had Theron. She had her magic. She had a purpose beyond surviving. I'm ready, she said. And she was. Years later, historians would write about the unbonded Omega who became queen. They would document her reforms to pack law, her advocacy for wolves with hidden gifts, her role in ending the Northern Territories' rebellion through diplomacy rather than bloodshed. They would write about the Alpha King who crossed a ballroom to choose an invisible girl, who saw worth where others saw only rejection, who risked political stability for true love. But they would miss the most important part of the story, the part about fear and courage, about hiding and revelation, about rejection and acceptance, about 2 broken wolves who found wholeness in each other. The part about standing at the edge of a ballroom, invisible and alone, and having someone finally see you. The part about choosing to be seen. That was the story Kaya told her daughter years later, when the little girl asked how Mama and Papa met. No one invited the rejected Omega to dance, Kaya said, brushing her daughter's dark hair. Until the Alpha King stood and offered his hand. And everything changed. Because he loved you? Her daughter asked. Because he saw me, Kaya corrected. And I was brave enough to be seen. Outside the nursery window, the full moon blazed overhead, blessing Lunaris with silver light. And in the nursery, a queen held her daughter close and remembered the night she stopped hiding and started living. The night she became exactly who she was always meant to be. Home, whole, seen, loved.